Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 23rd, 2000, and it's my pleasure to be here with Ida Wilber, a 1996 graduate of the University of Arizona College of Law. My name is Vicki Fleischer, and I'll be asking you some questions, Ms. Wilber. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Can you tell me how you decided to go to law school in the first place?
I think I've wanted to go to law school ever since I was in the second grade, but definitely ever since I was in the sixth grade. I had a teacher named Homer Lee Townsend at Lower Kinsey Elementary, and in his class, he was the first African-American instructor I ever had, and he was very motivational for us. And in his class, sometimes after lunch, we would have court to decide if we should get consequences for throwing snowballs or whatever. And I often was defending the other person, and I really enjoyed it. And I think the other reasons that I wanted to go to law school was just basically because my family grew up in the South, and then we migrated to Arizona when I think I was about 3 or so. And the family has always been interested in the law and how it's applied, been interested in disparate treatment of people and everything, so it was just a natural for me.
Well, great. Why did you choose the University of Arizona Law School?
Well, I like Tucson, and I was down here working. I was a superintendent of Catalina Mountain Juvenile Institution, and I knew that I wanted to go to law school within 5 years after I finished my master's program, so I happened to stop in one day. And I asked the receptionist if they had any African-American instructors, and then they introduced me to Dr. Willie Jordan Curtis. And I talked to her and told her I've always been interested in law school. And the one thing that she said to me that I always remembered was that once you get in, it's my job to help you get out. And I felt really good. And I said that was the environment that I wanted to be in.
Well, great. Good job, Dr. Jordan Curtis. How many students were in your class when you started law school?
Ooh, I believe there was at least 150.
That sounds right. And did most of them graduate?
I believe that most of us did graduate.
Yeah. Do you know if the majority of your classmates were from Arizona?
I think the majority were from Arizona, but the one thing I did note was that most of the African-American students were from out of state.
Oh, that's interesting. From where? Do you remember?
California, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 of them. Well, in my class, California and Tennessee, because there were 6 that started out in my class, and I was the only one from Arizona now that I think about it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. How many women were in your class?
I'd say at least 35%.
It's a big change. I met somebody yesterday from the class of 1949 who had 1 woman.
Oh.
How many minorities were there in terms of Mexican Americans, African Americans, Native Americans, the whole range?
Let's see. Gosh, I can't give an exact number, but I was in the bridge program, and there were 21 students from varied backgrounds at that time.
Great. You remember a lot. How difficult was it to get into law school?
Well, I think the most difficult part was, filling out applications. I mean, that's a long process. And then also deciding which law schools that you're going to look at, and the waiting process and taking the LSAT. I mean, all of that was very scary. And so I would say it was of average difficulty. And it was just the waiting and not knowing that you're really anxious about.
Did you think of going anywhere else?
Yes, actually, I applied to the University of New Mexico, and what was it? ASU, U of A. I think I applied to about 5 schools.
Do you remember if there was summer school when you were here?
There was summer school. I attended summer school, as a matter of fact.
What classes did you take in the summer?
I took a 38E defense clinic, and I also took a writing class and did some independent study.
Was it a more relaxed atmosphere in the summer?
It was, and it was smaller classes, which gave you more individualized feedback.
Yeah. Good. Did you participate, other than that clinical experience in the summer, did you participate in any of the other in-health clinics that we have?
I participated in the Indian Law Clinic. I participated in, I'm not sure if it was a clinic, but it seemed like it was the negotiation class.
Yeah.
And those were very valuable
Mhm.
to me.
Great. Tell me about what type of student activities there were when you were in law school.
When I was here, there was the Student Bar Association, of course, and there was like the Black Law Student Association, Minority Law Student Association, the Law Women's Association, the Christian Law Student Association. There was a big variety of associations and groups to participate in.
And what type of activities did those organizations offer students?
Well, it offered them the opportunity to get involved in the law school environment at different perspectives, like the Minority Law Student Association. I know that was formed at a time, and I can't remember when there were very few minorities here, so you had a combination of everyone interested in pursuing that. But then the population grew, so then you had the Black Law Student Association, and then you also had the Native American Law Student Association, so it showed you an outgrowth. And the activities that were participated in were those designed to support the students. And they were open to, regardless of the name of the association, they were open to any student that was interested. And so you got tips on how to survive in the law school environment, which instructors, to look out for, which type of skills you would need in that class. So it was a good support system, and you got to meet people in the community.
Great. What type of faculty student activities were there when you were in law school?
Where there was the Law Women's Dinner that's at the beginning of the year, so you get an opportunity to meet with the some of the faculty at that time, and then there's also Dean Sullivan invited the first year students to his house, and so that was another opportunity. And then there were the different organizations had receptions, so you had an opportunity to meet different professors. And then there was the orientation day, where the professors came in and talked to you. Some of the professors came in and talked to you and then told you that their door was open to you.
Great. Was it open?
Yes, they were.
That's great. Tell me about where most students lived while they went to law school.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think most of us lived off campus. Because I lived within, I think, a 3-mile radius of the law school, and most of the other students did too.
Okay. And were there married students?
Yes, there were married students. There were single students with children, both men and women, which we thought was really neat. And you'd see people rolling children through strollers. We also had students who were pregnant and who graduated on time, and so it was a very unique environment.
Yeah, sounds like it. Tell me about the job market when you graduated.
Well, the job market I would say the job market was open. It was scary because you graduated, then you're taking the bar, so you don't know if you passed or not, but you know you need a job. And I came in to the law school environment from the correctional system. I had worked there for 13 years. So I came in with the belief that I was going to get a job, but it was as a matter of which job was it. Because I had said, well, if worst comes to worst, I'll go back to corrections till I can get a job in the law profession. And so the placement office was really good because they sent out a list of different job openings for about a year after you leave the university. And if there was something in particular that a professor or someone thought would fit your needs and you could meet that agency's need, they would actually contact you. And so I believe that the job market, even though it was really scary, it was open.
Mm-hmm. Good. You referred to the bar exam. Tell me what that was like.
The bar exam was my worst nightmare in one respect, but it also, I guess it helped me know how much discipline I had. In the bar exam, taking the courses, I took the Bar Passes course, and you meet people from all over. It wasn't just people that had just graduated from law school. It was people from other states, and so you got to some camaraderie because it bonded you together with people you might not have bonded with. And one of the things that I remember thinking was that I wish I would have had this before I came to law school, because it kind of put everything together, and it made it less frightening, but you knew that you were on time restraints, and that you weren't necessarily expected to finish every question on the bar, but you needed to learn how to pace yourself and learn the process for writing. and for the bar. And so it was very, I enjoyed that part, but I didn't have much sleep. But the good thing was you would run into professors and they would give you tips on, okay, you gotta drink a lot of water, take your vitamins, eat your fruit, breathe, calm down, it's gonna pass. You know, so that, and when I remember stepping into the bar, I was as anxious as anyone else. You're nervous, you're getting up early because you don't want to be late and everything. And so I remember that day when 850 of us went in to take it at the Tucson Convention Center. And it was scary, but it was once, I think after the first 5 minutes, you're just thinking about getting the questions done. And we laughed later because the lights went off for just a few minutes, and we kept writing, and we were like, oh my God, we're really A-type personalities.
Can you tell me about some of your classmates that you might still keep in touch with and what they might be doing?
Patricia Lewis Brown is one of my classmates, and she was the first person I met when I came through the door when we were going to go to the Bridge program, which is an orientation program for non-traditional students. And she was from California, and she was a single mother of 3 children. And so Pat's doing very well. She ended up clerking for appellate court judge after she left law school, and now she's working with, I think it's Waterfall Economitas in family law. And then there's Maria Avilas, who she is the mother of 4 children. And she had just come from her undergraduate school. And she's working as the public defender for the Pasquayaki tribe. And then there's Rachel Strong, who's a public defender for the Pima County attorney. And she's the mother of 2 children. And she was married she was married before law school, but it was really unique to see how her husband just filled in the gap. He became the mother role for the child. And then there's quite a few others that are throughout the state and across Arizona, but those are the ones that
Some pretty impressive
built bonds
people.
with, yes.
Yeah, great. I have a couple questions about law school classes. How many students were in your average lecture hall type class?
Let's see, about in the average, it would be 40. And that's not included, because in the small section, I believe we had 15 to 20.
And what were some of your favorite subjects?
Constitutional law, I really enjoyed that with Professor Glennon, because I've always had an interest in constitutional issues, and it offered an opportunity for a lot of dialogue. And I really look forward to that class. The other classes that I had was the federal Indian law, which I just found fascinating, and that really perked my interest because I grew up in northern Arizona and went to school with a lot of Native people. And then there was the con law too, which I did take that during the summertime. And I enjoyed the negotiation class, and also Professor Wood's law and technology. And I took that one because I was just simply frightened of technology, but taking his class and with his personality, it kind of transitioned you into putting computers with law and seeing how it could be beneficial to you.
Good. What were some of your reading assignments like in law school?
The reading assignments were heavy. They were very heavy in con law and basically in every class. And you really had to learn how to read for law school. So that you could participate in the discussions. And your reading assignments could be, I would say I could say your reading assignments could be like 200 pages within a few days for a particular class.
What were the examinations like?
Oh gosh. The examinations, they were very challenging, especially Professor Dobbs, because it's multiple choice. And his class, I really benefited from that, especially during the bar, because I remember a lot of that information. And we had heard about his reputation as being tough, and I was I think anxious for the first exam. I had this dream that I told my colleagues about, that you don't be late for his class, number one. and you read your material and you're ready for a discussion, but I dreamed that I showed up for the exam and he was at the door saying, "You're 2 minutes late, you can't come in." And I was like, I'm gonna flunk out, but I didn't.
I have a dream similar to that, it's common for lawyers. Was there a lot of Socratic teaching at that time?
There was, especially, in the con law, the civil procedure, and then in our small, we had I think it was feminist jurisprudence, which I really enjoyed. That opened the door for a lot of discussion, and so I would say yes, there was definitely a lot.
Good. What type of off-campus activities were there?
The off-campus activities range from different, picnics, parties, sightseeing, so there was quite a bit.
Good. And tell me about your graduation ceremony.
Graduation, I think ours, each classes are the most unique, but ours was given that we graduated from Tucson High School, because the usual place for graduation, Centennial Hall, was taken. It had been, I booked for a play or something the year before. And so you were going to have, initially there was going to be limited invitations. You could only let in so many people. But graduation was really great because that was the time where all your families and friends could actually come and join in. You celebrating you graduating from law school and recognize that all their sacrifices and support was well worth it.
That's great. Who were some of the professors that you interacted with outside the classroom?
Let's see, Dr. Willie Jordan Curtis, Professor Woods, let's see, Professor Glennon, let's see, who else? I can't remember everyone, but I guess generally there was always some activity where you would be interacting with the professors, it's fair to say.
When you were a student, you mentioned Dean Sullivan as inviting first years to his home when he was dean. And when you graduated, I believe Dean Joel Seligman was the dean. Did the students have any interaction with him?
Now, there was a lot of interaction with him. He, let's see, Dean Sullivan was the instructor for our civil procedure and everything, so we learned a lot in his class. Dean Seligman came in, and he was very personable and very approachable, and he called I think at least 3 meetings of the third year class to get input for graduation and to talk about where we wanted to have it at and the conditions under which we would have graduation. So I thought that was really good. Yeah. And I did have an opportunity to take his corporations class, and that was very interactive.
Great. Okay, the questions are going to get harder. What was the most interesting thing that you would say happened at the law school when you were here?
Well, I think the most interesting thing was that, were student bar elections. One year we had a candidate, his last name was Chu, and he was a business student plus a law student, and we had different candidates running for office, and it was like he came in from out of nowhere with a lot of charisma and a lot of sense of direction and won the elections. So I thought that was really unique. And I think the other unique part, another thing was that the moot court competitions that we had here, I really enjoyed that because I participated for 3 years in moot court. And through the Black Law Student Association, Pat Lewis, but now Pat Brown and I, we went to San Francisco and participated in the moot court competition, and we received support from the law school. So that was a highlight and something very memorable, and we won best, what was it? We made it to the semifinals for the oral arguments, but we won the best written brief.
Congratulations.
So we were real excited about that, and we didn't even know it until we got back here.
Oh my goodness, wow. What was going on in the world when you were in law school?
Let's see. Oh, during that time, there was the O.J. Simpson trial that was going on. There was a change in the there was a change in the direction of juvenile corrections during that time, because just as I left, the juvenile corrections had separated from adult corrections, and so there were a lot of different directors that were running the agency, but the philosophy changed from one of excluding families to including families as a resource, and I thought that was really unique throughout the state. Let's see what else was going on. There was a focus, there seemed to be a lot of focus on domestic violence during that time. And I think it was even before the O.J. Simpson trial, because we had, I recall very specifically, there was a female correctional officer in Colorado that was murdered by a boyfriend who came all the way from Louisiana. And she had reported it to the authorities, and it seemed like nothing was done. And she told them exactly what he said would happen, and that was exactly what happened. And during that time, family lost. So it was a real interesting time for what was going on in the world.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Did you feel like you were prepared for law practice when you graduated?
Yes. I feel like I was prepared because I did the 38E, and also because I did an internship with Judge McNamee during the summer of '94 in the 38E the next summer. And because I had an opportunity to go down and watch and spend time with other attorneys that would help transition me into the community.
Great. Tell us about your job now.
Okay, now I'm an assistant attorney general with the Tohono O'odham Nation, which is a sovereign nation 60 miles outside of Tucson. And I represent the Department of Human Services there in tribal court, in child abuse and neglect cases, and also if I'm assigned to represent a committee, I would do that. I worked with the elections committee the first 6 months I was there. And then in state court, I represent the nation's interests under the Indian Child Welfare Act by intervening in cases where the state has taken custody of children. And the purpose of that is to make sure that the state follows the federal guidelines, and it affords a higher protection of the parents' rights and the tribal rights and the child's right to be connected to the tribe. And the state has to meet higher evidentiary standards. And so it's really unique in that not a lot of judges or attorneys are familiar with it. So I spend a lot of time educating them in the courtroom and outside. And it's really interesting because when we show up, people think that we're there for the parents, and we're there really for the nation as a whole, because the parents have their own attorneys and everything. But a lot of times our position and the parents' position parallel each other. And so I see how they can get that perception, and at other times they don't. But in any event, it's we're there to protect the nation's interest.
Sounds really interesting. You like it?
Yeah, I do like it, and we go wherever the cases are, which means in the 14 counties across the state or even out of state, and we do contract with attorneys out of state.
Great. Okay, the questions are going to get even harder.
Okay.
We're almost done. Ms. Wilber, what would you say is a defining characteristic of this law school?
I think the defining characteristic of this law school is that it's a law school of inclusion. By that I mean you have Dr. Willie Jordan Curtis, you have Dean Kavanaugh, you have the dean of the law school, Tony Massaro. And I remember when she was in I always thought of her as the con law instructor, because I wanted to get in con law too with her, but she was out during that period of time. But the defining characteristic is that you have a group, I think, of progressive instructors that are willing to have their doors open to the students and provide support, and that also allow for a lot of dialogue and different perspectives in their classroom. And I think it's real important in the law school environment because there is a lot of stress, and it's especially for first-year students, that they know that there's going to be a lot demanded of them, but there's also going to be a support system there to help them, and that it's okay to be frustrated, tired, or even cry, because it helps you get through the law school environment. So I would say that that's a defining characteristic, is that you have caring staff that are interested in students.
Great. If you could change something about legal education? What would you change?
Well, what I would change is that there would be more clinical experience, more clinics, probably starting with after a year and a half of law school. I think that what I would like, the other thing is that there would be more instructors from varied backgrounds. I think that, I would like to see people go through law school for like a year and a half and then maybe have a semester of actually hands-on 30/80 type work and then come back into the classroom because it changes your perspective. And also that there's instructors who've had varied experience in the courtroom because it makes a difference. And one of the classes that I forgot to mention was the trial practice that I think it's Anita Royale taught. And the unique thing about that was that we knew she had been a trial attorney, and her class was very, very challenging because we knew that she knew the evidence and everything. And so she would really redirect you but make it fun and not humiliating. And the other class, I think, early on would be the evidence class by Thomas Malway, because his class was fun and really challenging, but you learned a lot, and it kind of made you anxious to get into the courtroom so you could object.
Right. Good. If you were going to convey a message to future law students, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that we're living in a time of change, challenge, and opportunity in the legal aspect and also in the social aspect of the world. And that law school, I believe, is the place or the mechanism where you get your basics on the law and on what's expected as ethical conduct and professionalism. And that you can get a very good basis in that, but you have to look within yourself to decide what do you bring to the legal profession. And if that's, it's a sacrifice to come to law school. And if you're willing to take that sacrifice to come to law school and then take the bar and then go out into the world and contribute to the legal profession and be willing, even with your law degree, remember that you're still a person and be willing to turn around and help other people, pursue their dreams, because we are the protectors of the Constitution and the defender of people's rights, regardless of which field of law we choose to go into. And so it's something, you're not just a lawyer 8 hours a day, you're a lawyer always. And so you have an ethical duty to be a professional. So that's what I would say.
Good message. What would you like to see this law school accomplish in the future?
Let's see. Well, I would like to see the law school accomplish an increase in the minority enrollment. I would like to see the law school, I think the law school is doing a good job at marketing itself right now, so I would like to see it to continue to do that, to let the public know the caliber of people that work here and that you're turning out into the world, because I think there's something they could be proud of right now when I look at my colleagues in court and see how well they're doing. I would like to see the law school get in more. I know that the Chief Justice comes once a semester, and I did have his class. I would like to see I would like to see Justice O'Connor come down and teach a class if possible. And I would like to see the law school expand its tribal law clinic and maybe add a few other classes, because the unique thing about tribal law, or what people don't realize, is that each tribe is different. And so I think we need to do something in that field. And then also, I would like to see it expand in its, the juvenile law in those teachings, because a lot of attorneys work at the juvenile court system and they're not necessarily that familiar with the process. So I think that's what I would like to see more to.
Anything else you wanted to add that I haven't asked you about?
Just that it was coming to law school, I think for anyone, is a very defining point in your life, and that I enjoyed the opportunity that I had to come to the University of Arizona, because it was my first choice. I didn't say that at the beginning. It was my first choice for a school because I knew some of the attorneys that came out of here, and because I knew that it was ranked pretty high, and that I really value the friendships and connections that I've made at the law school, and I think that this is the best school.
Thank you so much.
That was great.